So let's start with a round of check-ins. That'll be quite brief, about 30 seconds each. And if you'd like to share any questions or comments that you've got from the last session, and we could address them afterwards, or something about your empathy buddy call, if you have managed to have one, or a short report if you were able to facilitate an empathy circle during this last week. So you've got 3 things to select from or use as your check-in. And welcome, Sita. Good to have you here. I was just saying that we're doing a round of check-ins. Any questions or comments from the last session? Or how was your empathy buddy call? Or a report on your facilitating, if you've managed to this week, facilitate an empathy circle. So I'll call on people one at a time, but I'll warn you who will be the next person. So you've got about 30 seconds each. Dean, would you like to start?
This week has been quite empathic. I've been doing quite a lot of one-on-one calls with people. I thoroughly enjoyed talking with Shalima. It took a bit of a while to get us together, but we got together in the end, and that was all that mattered. So yeah, a good week of helping to build that culture of listening and being present with each other. Thank you.
Thanks, Dean. Shima, would you mind going next? And after Shima, Lynette, would you go, please?
Sure. I had a great call with Dean. It was like a short call, but so many deep issues were discussed. And one of them being how empathy circles really help us to learn more about ourselves and to become our true selves. So that was nice. And I actually had a chance to host 2 empathy circles this week, one with my sisters and one with my neighbors. And the one with my neighbors ended up having 6 people come. So I just kind of sat out that one and just kind of facilitated and let them do the empathy circle themselves, and they loved it.
Great, thank you, Shima. So after Lynette, Graham, would you be happy to go, please?
Well, it's been an interesting few weeks between weather and not being able to be here because I was ill and that, but I did manage to hook up with my empathy buddies and really enjoy learning with them and from them. And yeah, it was a really nice time.
Thank you. Graham, after Graham, Erin, please.
So I've had a very good week. And I had one very interesting group was an NVC group, and we approached things from a different angle, which was very exciting. And I have had a call with Russia, which was very, very interesting, and it was a long-awaited contact. But we didn't really do an empathy session. We did more a kind of getting to know you conversation, which was just as valuable, in fact, possibly more in this particular case. And so I do have several empathy buddies, and I'm trying to set up another one, which is going to be a complicated high stakes one. But I'm still quite a way away from setting up an empathy circle. And that I'm not pushing myself to do. That will come in its own time. So I look forward to our meeting today. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. And after Erin, Bill, would you like to go?
I had a great week. I had a buddy call with Lynette, and it was really great. Really enjoyed it. Got so much out of that. And also did a empathy circle with my parents, and that was great and in person, and learned a lot there too. So it was good overall. Thanks.
Thank you. And after Bill, Rasha.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot. We're doing 2 cohorts and I'm having meetings, so I'm doing a lot of empathy circles and I'm confused. If I missed some empathy buddy, I apologize. I don't think in this group. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm looking at, and this week I've been working on like those next steps, like how to institute or introduce an empathy circle into several settings. So I'm kind of playing with that. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. So after Rasha, Celine.
Hi, so nice to be here. This week I had a wonderful conversation with Graham. We discussed, like Graham said, it was more of a conversation. We didn't practice empathy circle as such, but we were just getting to know each other and talking about what we have been doing and what we would like to do. And it was a wonderful conversation, but we had to cut it short because I had to travel within an hour or so after the call. I couldn't hold an empathy circle. I really wanted to with my family, but you know, like I mentioned before, it was my sister's wedding and there was a lot happening. So I just couldn't get everybody together for an empathy circle. So hopefully the next couple of weeks, I will be able to do a lot more circles. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Celine, after Celine, Edwin, would you like to go?
So there's been a death in this family. So I have been focusing on that and not doing much else. But I did get to have a call with Anne as a buddy, and that was helpful in many ways. So I'm here. That's all I can say. My body is here in front of the computer, period. Thank you.
And I'd just like to welcome Sunita. We're just going round with any questions or feedback from last week or reports on buddy calls or empathy cafe, empathy circle you facilitated. So I'll call on you a bit later. So Malin, would you like to go next? Oh, it was Edwin and then Malin, sorry. Give you warning.
Fine. Yeah, so I had a discussion with Jim Doty, who's director of the Center for Compassion, Altruism Research and Education at Stanford. And we did sort of a dialogue about where to with the empathy and compassion movements. And we talked about empathy circles, and he had the center CCARE be a co-sponsor for our political empathy circles with congressional representatives. So I was pretty excited. So we're getting a list of sponsors. We've got Listen First as a sponsor. They're a organization that's trying to bridge political divides, sort of an association of 300 organizations. And so that was pretty exciting just to get more support, more sponsors. And Lou and I had a call with my congressman's staff. We're meeting every week to kind of organize this empathy circle with congressional representatives. So really, yeah, excited about that. That's it. Thanks.
So next is Malin, and after Malin, Sita, would you go? Thanks.
Thank you, and let me know if you can't hear me because my router is in and out. Good. I didn't manage to do a circle, but I did something really cool this week. I had a friend who came over to my house on Sunday, and she was very upset and stressed and like talking. And then I could just like relax and listen to her. So I kept very calm and grounded. And after a while, she kept going in circles, in loops. So then I just asked her, can I reply with reflective listening? She doesn't know about this stuff at all. She said, yeah, sure. And then I said, please don't only give me information in chunks. She got that. And I just repeated back like a few times. She just completely calmed down. And she loved it. So she wants to do a circle with me. And so so positive. Thank you.
Thank you, Malin. That was good to hear. Sita, and after Sita, Sunita.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see everyone. Malin, I enjoyed your story. For me, I had kind of a full week, so I didn't do any empathy circles, but I did have a lovely meeting with Sunita, which was really nice. And then I also had the opportunity to talk to Bill a little bit and learn about what he's doing with students, or his work with bringing empathy circles to schools. And so that was good too. And yeah, and then last week, I think I said this last week, but again, I really appreciated the opportunity to practice with challenges, and I would love to do more of that. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sita. Sunita, and then Lou, please.
Good evening, everyone, and it's wonderful to be here again. So I had an empathy circle with my Dharma group, and that was really, really interesting. And with that deep sense of listening, I think it made even more sense, everything that we were discussing and doing. So I'm very grateful for that. I had an empathy call with Sita, which was again very enlightening, insightful, lots there to listen and to learn and to kind of bring it into into what I do. So yeah, that's what I did this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lou.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. It's good to see everyone's faces, and I appreciate you taking time to come be with us again. I've had a very busy week, and in terms of empathy circles, I actually held an empathy circle with some members of a community organization in my hometown. So this was their first exposure to the process, and they loved it. And they want to they would like to do it again. So we scheduled another circle, and I think it's going to turn into training them to bring it into their organization. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. So I'm excited about that, about actually doing something, in my local environment. So that I'm excited about that.
So it's only me left to go, I think. I haven't missed anybody, have I? No. So for me this week, we started as part of Global Extinction Rebellion. We had our first of a series of monthly empathy cafes on the earth emotions, which are connected to the regenerative cultures training. And that went really well. And so it was sort of promoting empathy circles, and there were lots of new people who came to it. So that was good. And then also with the Thursday cafe, I do seem to keep getting 2 or 3 completely new people in from different parts of the world. And it's just a delight when they go away having benefited and feeling they've gained something new and taking it with them. So now we'll hand over to, I'm not sure, it's Lou, you were going to pick up any questions or comments from the last session, but.
Yeah, so just a few things. So I looked through the evaluation forms from the last sessions, and there were a few things that I just wanted to mention. So one was someone talking about the balance between, if you're facilitating a circle and you see something going on, someone missing a reflection, or how quickly do you intervene? Because, and it is a balancing act, because if you intervene too much, you can create an atmosphere of criticism in the circle where people feel like you're trying to tell them what to do all the time, or they're not getting it right. So you don't want to do that too much. But on the other hand, if something goes awry and you don't intervene at all, then it's kind of like you've laid out that there's these rules for the circle or the structure for the circle, but then you're not actually enforcing it, which will make people feel very unsafe, because it's like you're not kind of doing what you said you would do. So I would say that when a reflector gives a reflection to a speaker that misses a part of the thing, misses part of what they said, or gets it wrong, as a facilitator, I would wait to see what does the speaker do with that. You know, do they say, well, you got this part of it, but you missed this part, or no, that isn't what I was saying at all, because there's a process of them finding a correction between the two of them that's actually a healthy. That's fine. The reflector's not expected to get it right all the time, and there's nothing wrong with the reflector getting it wrong and the speaker saying, well, no, you missed that. What I really meant was this. So you want to let that process happen. But I would say that if the reflector misses twice or 3 times, and the main thing I'm monitoring is how frustrated is the speaker. If the speaker is feeling really unheard and getting frustrated, that's when I would be likely to intervene and say, you know, let me hear what actually, I wouldn't say anything to the speaker about what they're doing wrong. I mean, the reflector, about what they're doing. I would say to the speaker, so what I'm hearing is this what you were trying to say? So that they could get some understanding and relax into that. And then say to the listener, so do you hear that difference there? Do you hear the piece that I was talking about there? And then maybe I would ask them, could you reflect that back to the speaker? Or I would just let it go and then let them continue. The place where I would intervene more quickly is if this reflector is doing something other than trying to reflect. You know, if they're asking questions or giving their opinion or judging the speaker, then I probably would intervene there. So that's my answer to that. Questions? Any of the instructors want to add something to that?
No.
Okay. Second question was about what if someone in the circle starts to cry? You know, strong emotion is something that a lot of people in a lot of different cultures are not particularly well trained to sit with. And the answer to the question is what to do about it is to welcome it, just like all feelings in the circle are welcome. And notice how you feel about it. If it brings up a lot of angst in you, notice that and try to breathe through that. Try not to interrupt it. So most people culturally are taught that when someone starts expressing strong emotion, you either try to stop it or you fix it, with the idea that you're helping the person if you stop it. Really you just want to welcome it. And if the person expresses, which is often the case, when someone starts to express strong emotion or feel strong emotion, they often apologize to the people present. And they'll say, oh, I'm so sorry that I'm doing this. Because they feel like they're putting a burden on people. And so the one other thing you might do is reassure them. If they start to do that, you might say, you know, your feelings are really welcome here. It's fine. And the only other thing I would suggest is you might acknowledge that, you know, strong emotions are welcome. I mean, kind of after the person's over. As facilitator, you might say strong emotions are definitely welcome here, and they can also be difficult for people. So if you're feeling uncomfortable right now, that's fine too. And if you need to say something about it, you can when it's your turn to speak. But so just acknowledging that people may have strong feelings about what they witnessed. Anybody have anything they want to add to that?
No, I thought that was great, Lou. I think the only thing that you'll have to you might want to think about is if it's going on for more than 5 minutes, if it's really intense, you have to think about, well, what's the next step? I mean, are we then, if let's say it went on for 15 minutes, well, then that fundamentally changes the empathy circle. So we want to welcome it. So how do you do that? And one of the things is to, you know, check in with them, offer, sometimes some of the things I've done is to have, like, after the circle, to have a little buddy call or something like that, or just listen to them, or think about how they can have a space to express themselves, you know, like the next round or something like that. I know it sounds kind of, awkward. Stop crying in another 15 minutes, you'll have a chance to cry again. So, obviously you need a little nuance there and a little grace. But that's the sort of thing you just have to kind of think, and it's good to be thinking ahead about that. What options do we have to give this person a chance for expression without breaking down the fundamental aspects of the empathy circle? That's it. Thanks.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Bill. And it's reminding me that when I was doing public empathy circles in my hometown, one of the things we got for the facilitators was information about social services in town. So if there was someone who was really having a lot of trouble, you could say to them, I just want you to know there are these services available if you're needing help. Because you don't want the person who's feeling however they're feeling to take over the whole circle. I mean, because that is another dynamic that will happen, is that you might be reluctant to tell them when it's the end of their turn. I know you're having a lot of strong feelings, but it's time to move on. Don't let the circle be taken over by someone who has a lot of strong feelings. It's fine to hold everyone's needs as important, not just the needs of the person who's having strong feelings in the moment.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Have you experienced that someone during Zoom times, because that's what we've got, that somebody has left, like, oh, I'm so sorry, and then they withdraw, they're no longer on the call, or has that?
I think that has happened. People who step out either because they're frustrated or they don't like the process, or maybe they're so upset that they don't want to continue. I don't know if other instructors have feedback about that. I think the question of how much responsibility does a facilitator, empathy circle facilitator, have for someone who is in their circle who is showing some kind of difficulty. And this is where, Bill really brought this point up, and it's a good one. Do you want to talk to them a little bit after the circle if it's over, if they're still having difficulty? My perspective on that is, I have information about social services. I give that to them, and then I've kind of discharged my responsibility for taking care of them. And I don't have to have separate sessions with them, or agree to reach out to talk to them like I need to take care of them. But that's each individual person's choice. I don't know, Bill, is there more you want to say about that, Bill? What you think the EC facilitator's responsibility is?
No, I agree. Again, I think what Lou is talking about, where you kind of gain here, is a sense of balance. You obviously, so if I felt like a 10 or 15 minute, I mean, the person's not suicidal, but if 10 or 15 minute debrief would help, then I might try that. I've only done it, I think, once. But if I felt that it was, assessment for suicide, something beyond my ability, then I think it's great to have those resources available. You can even Google it if you're on your computer, where they are, county. You want to have local county, and then you can actually hook them up. So again, that's balance, and that's it.
Okay. The one other comment I wanted to make was about using reflection in kind of normal conversation. And Malin's story about her with her friend relates to this. And the couple of comments people made about their buddy calls, where they weren't actually doing empathy circle, they were just talking, and like how wonderful that is. And I wanted to introduce the idea that, just in regular conversation in your life, so not having empathy circles, you can begin to use reflective listening as a way to create understanding and connection with people. And you don't reflect back every little thing, but when someone tells you something that is important to them, just reflecting it back and saying, I think I understand you're saying this, that is very connecting, and is a way of practicing kind of informal empathy circle. So I want to suggest that to people.
Just wanted to ask the instructors whether they any of you, have you experienced or been in a session where one of the speakers, they're getting aggressive? If this intense emotion that they're expressing is anger, you know, and if it gets a little uncomfortable or offensive to any of the other participants, how best to deal with a situation like that?
So what I would say about that is the reflector would reflect them back. If the reflector is having trouble doing that, then as a facilitator, you would step in and do it. As a facilitator, you might acknowledge that, you know, this is pretty charged speaking that's happening, and some of you may be having feelings about that. You know, same thing. Anytime you're a facilitator where you think something is going on in the circle that lots of people are reacting to, just acknowledge that that's what's happening. And that when it's your turn to speak, you could say something about it if you want. But that, yeah, just because someone's saying something with a lot of anger, you know, anger is also welcome in the circle. And if they're saying something very judgmental about someone in the circle, then, you know, that's also permitted. And if it can be reflected back, that's great. And often what happens, if that's able to happen, the person's charge usually comes down, begins to come down. If it doesn't come down, and people are getting upset, then I would, and even like if I'm reflecting it and it's not really coming down, then in my judgment, it's making it difficult for the circle to continue, then I might say something like that. So I'm wondering if you could try to express what you're expressing with a little more care. I might ask that, or I might say, you know, what you're bringing is really too much for this circle and for me, and I don't think I can hold it really. And so I'm going to ask you to talk about something else, or if you really don't want to do that, then I think maybe this circle isn't going to work for you for what you're bringing right now. That's how I would do it. Other instructors?
I do know when I've been in groups where there is a lot, maybe anger, and it's kind of scary. It's like I can feel the tension and nervousness, you know, inside, and sometimes it's kind of hard to hold that. But I keep sort of trusting the process, and usually, if we can get into the circle, and that is that whatever that charge is, that anger they have is heard and reflected by someone, it really kind of calms down. And I've never been to the point where I needed to kick somebody out of a circle, because if it was just like total disruptive, I'm not going to follow the rules, you know, then I might hit the eject button. But I haven't had to do that in all these years.
And I would just like to add, there are degrees here. I mean, there's bringing anger, there's being judgmental, and there's also making threats. And there's those are degrees. And so if somebody's making explicit threats, that to me, this is my personal opinion, is crossing a line. And you can't have a circle where you feel under physical threat. And so one of the things, and I've struggled with this myself because I can be triggered, but is to always make it about the process. So what you want to take it out, and then Lou, I think it illustrates this, but I'll just kind of summarize it. You take it from a power struggle, me and you, from the process. So instead of facing off, you're looking at the process. I saw Edwin make an excellent intervention that way. Said, come to the empathy. We want to hear what you want to say. And then you make it about the process. And then if they can't get into the process or adhere to the process, then it's time to say, maybe this is too much for you. Come back when you're feeling different. So you're not throwing away, this is not the day for you. It's okay. Sometimes it's not the day for me. But, get to the process. It's the person in the process, not them against you. That's my point. Thanks.
Okay. Was there more, Lou? Or
no,
I saw Anne had something.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to add that it's very unlikely that anybody is actually being hurt in the circle, that it will be something from previously, in their lives. Or so in a way that could be of reassurance to yourself. And also, just if you do feel like Edwin was saying, that kind of emotional, that your tension about it, just just ground yourself and remind yourself that this is something from previously, and you've got the process.
Yeah, okay, well, thanks. So for the next, we're going to go into empathy circles, and there's more.
I've just noticed David has just joined us, and so welcome, David.
So yeah, welcome. Yeah, so this is sort of a feedback, sort of a loop for the training. We want to hear your experience. What kind of worked for you in the training, what didn't work, what ideas you have for improvements, what are your plans for next steps. And it's sort of a time, we're going to go into empathy circles. It's going to be very, simple. We don't even need, we're not going to explain we're not going to do any explanations or anything. Just go in there, and I'll post the questions that we're having for just for your consideration. So it's a bit of a sort of a feedback loop for us. And also it has the benefit of sort of integrating what you learned. So you can kind of think about it, share it, kind of hear what other people learned. And I find there's sort of an integrative part. And then at the end, we'll kind of do a debrief where you just be able to share kind of what you liked about the training, but maybe suggestions and, what you're going to do next with empathy circles. So it's pretty straightforward. We have 3 groups, so it'll be 5 in each circle. We are going to record those. So I'll be in one group. Anne, Anne, you're facilitating one with Bill, and Bill is going to record, just a reminder. And then Dean facilitates number 3, and Lou will be in that group and hopefully be able to hit the record button. And then there's questions there. So we have 5-minute turns, and we'll be going until we have about an hour and 15 minutes for this. So we'll have 45 minutes at the end to sort of to debrief, sort of a final debrief. And so here we go, we're ready to go into the circles, and there'll be one group staying here with me. So remember, Bill and Lou, to hit the record buttons.
Okay.
So, okay, here we go. Okay, hopefully Dean, there we go. So would somebody like to take time? Does somebody have a timepiece and a volunteer? Okay, great, Malin. Oh, Malin's got it. So we have 5-minute turns, and the question just for your consideration is, what did you like about the training, the benefits, what challenges did you experience? And what are your next steps? So any or all of those, or whatever is alive for you as well. So whoever would like to start, select who you want to speak to, and we'll have 5-minute turns.
Okay, I'll speak. And Erin, would you like to listen to me? I think the biggest challenge I had was actually getting here between the winter's storms and me being sick and stuff. And that, so I just feel like I'm kind of behind on things, and that I'm not, where I should be with everybody else. But I'm very thankful to Edwin to allow me to keep coming when I can come, and open the invitation for cohort 9, and pick up my pace from there. So
you're saying the biggest challenge was getting to the circles with challenges of weather and illness, and that puts you feeling behind where everyone else in the cohort was with their process of learning. the Empathy Circle, and but you're still really grateful that you got to stay in and get what you could, and it sounds like you're excited to join the next cohort and go from there.
Yes, for sure. I don't really have much more to add to that. Yeah, it's just been a busy week. I think I'll just talk about what's alive for me. It's been a busy week, just launching my own kind of home-based business and preparing for that and doing some extra other training and stuff, and then looking at how I can actually combine the Empathy Circle training with the trauma training I'm dealing with and take that forward into the community, so to really allow them to get a full scope of how we can help others that are going through addiction and why they're there, and to be less judgmental and understand their place and where they're coming from.
So this is a busy week for you, and you were launching your business, and you were doing some more training as well this week. And you are working on integrating that training and this culture of empathy into what you do and offering it to the community, especially for understanding and providing services for people with addictions. And I might have lost some there, but
no, I think you captured it well, Erin. Thank you. I feel heard.
okay. You don't want any more time?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Malin, you listen? Okay. Okay, so what I like about the training? Well, what I like about the training is the experience, the actual process, and learning it. That's the main thing. That's of so much value. I don't want to like gloss over that. So I'll say that first.
The main thing that you like about the training is the experience that you get from it and the process of doing the training.
Yeah. Yeah. Your audio went out just for a second at the end, but I think you got it.
Okay, I'm gonna go stand by my router.
Okay.
Yeah, then it should be fine.
Okay. Thank you. And the other things I liked about the training was being connected with you all. That was super sweet to be connected with people who think about empathy and want to promote it. So that's the second thing that's so wonderful.
So the second thing that you liked about this training was the connection between people. Maybe I'm putting words into your mouth, getting to know us. Yeah, connecting. Did I get it?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Especially right now. I mean, it is nice to be able to connect with people on a deeper level when we're like so often masked and muffled and things like that. So it's really great. So I'll just pause there and think.
It's extra great with connecting with other people right now because we are wearing masks and we have some distance between each other.
I think one of the challenges for me in the Empathy Circle ended up being a metaphor for the practice itself, and I'll tell you what it is. It is that up front, I wanted to ask a lot of questions, anticipating different situations and things. And so there was no Q&A, like, I mean, I felt the opportunity, if I absolutely had to, I could have, but there wasn't a big forum for like sort of working out all of these different scenarios. But actually, I just needed to experience the process more. So just pause there.
initially you were looking forward to a Q&A session where you would like to ask a lot of questions about potential scenarios, but then you actually experienced some of these scenarios, and that made you satisfied with your urge to ask questions.
Yeah. And I was reading something last night, I don't remember what it was, but it's about learning and integrating information is actually better that way anyways. So just kind of like revisiting things, experiencing it and assimilating rather than just like, you know, kind of like trying to memorize things. So
You read about learning, and it said that experiencing things is a really good way of truly learning something instead of talking about it compared to experiencing it.
yeah, information can be accessory or it can actually be useful, I guess. So that turned out to be really good. And I feel like that actually models the process, because in the process, I think you do give sort of like the structure up front, but the magic really comes through just staying with the process, you know, just kind of just go ahead and experience it, stick with it, you know. So that's the way, it's sort of a metaphor for the empathy circle.
It became very clear how the experience is so valuable in learning, and going through the process is really key in learning, and it became a metaphor for the learning experience.
Yeah. And then the next steps, that's it then. Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Sita, would you please listen to me? Thank you. So I'm grateful to be here, and I am happy I could have dinner in the beginning of the meeting, because this always collides with my dinner, which has been a bit challenging in planning my evenings. And once I did an activist Zoom meeting with a psychologist who talked about climate anxiety. And I had my dinner during the talk and it was recorded. And then one of the other activists was like, "Malin, you can't eat during this talk. You have to turn off your camera." So since then, I've been very sort of sensitive about eating in Zoom meetings. But it's like kind of hard for me sometimes to be perfect. But sometimes I need to eat, because after this meeting, it will be too late. Like it will be bedtime. So I'm grateful that it was allowed and it worked out.
Yeah, so I hear you say that you're happy to be here, and you're also really happy that you had time to eat your dinner before we got started talking. And it's been challenging because your dinner time coincides with this group meeting, and so that's been hard for you. And you got a message from a friend at another Zoom meeting when you were eating your dinner that you shouldn't be eating your dinner during Zoom meetings, and so that's made you feel a little self-conscious. And so when you have the opportunity to eat beforehand, that's nice, but you also want to give yourself space to eat when you need to eat, is kind of what I'm hearing, that you're saying, I'm not perfect, and sometimes I need to eat. So you're giving yourself room to do that, I'm hearing.
Yeah, thank you. And also, to be honest, I mean, if I have a busy day, a busy week, this is sort of like extracurricular activities that for me, this is. If I'm going to manage to put this into my life, sometimes I need to combine it with doing other things. It's not ideal, but, and I don't know if it's negative because it will be distractive, but at least I have pulled through this whole, like this is like 5 weeks of training every week and tasks in between. So where do we put the bar? So I guess I am more like cheering for anything that people do extracurricularly, instead of like having this culture of But I mean, of course, there needs to be a balance because it will be challenging if everyone is eating all the time in some meetings.
Yeah, so I hear you saying that this is an extracurricular activity for you, and you've got a busy life, and so it sounds like you're trying to find the balance between managing your life, showing up to things like this that are important to you, and taking care of your needs like eating.
Yeah, thank you. And I also think that things like this is, without sounding too prestigious, like this is important for the world. Like I honestly feel like this goes beyond just me. I really think what we're doing here is important, and I truly believe in it. And I do it for me because, just like Erin was talking about, I've learned a lot through the process. But I also think that it's like ikigai, that saying, do something that you're good at, that the world's need, that you can, get paid for, that's like for work. And so this feels like I'm also doing it for me, but also for the community on this planet, so that we get our act together.
Yeah. So I hear that this is important to you, and you also feel like it's really important to the world. And so that's another reason why it's important to you to be here and to show up. You didn't exactly say it like that, but I'm just hearing that your feeling is this is really important to the world, and that's one of the reasons why you want to be here.
Thank you. I feel heard.
Okay, good. All right. Edwin, would you listen to me?
Listening.
Okay. Yeah. I just want to comment on what Malin was saying about eating. I'm a big fan of eating, and so I just want to support anyone who feels like they need to eat during a Zoom meeting or something like this, because I think it's important. So I just want to say that. And also I have been coming with my breakfast, and was glad to finish eating that before the meeting too. Aside from that, I've also really appreciated this class, and a lot of the things that Erin shared, I resonate with. I've really enjoyed meeting all the people. I really enjoyed the internationality, meeting people from all over. And the process. And one of the things that's really struck me about the process is not only the listening and the reflecting, but also, I'm laughing because I'm catching myself as I'm saying this, also the slowing down of the speech. So I'll stop there.
Yeah, so I was hearing to begin with, you're just saying that you value eating as well. And I think you're maybe giving permission that it's fine to eat, it doesn't bother you, and you're appreciating that you were able to do that, as well. And then you're resonating with what Erin was saying about, about the benefits that she experienced, and you really appreciate the international aspect of it, as well as the slowing down part of it, and then you started slowing down yourself.
Yeah. There's something about that slowing down of speech, and then the listening, that I feel like it's almost like it creates more of an attunement between the people who are speaking. And I feel like that is some of the I've heard you use the word oxytocin. I feel like that's some of what builds that sense of oxytocin and connection between people in this process.
Yeah, so you're noticing that when we slow down, there's a sense of connection that happens, and it's sort of related to maybe oxytocin being released, sort of a more calming sort of effects. You're just sort of seeing the dynamic, that maybe an appreciation of that too.
Yeah. So I really like that. I've also, which I mentioned a couple of times already, but have appreciated learning more about the challenges too, and learning a little bit of how to navigate that, and I'd like to learn that more. I also would like to, I feel like right now there's more practice that I would like to do. So I would like to be involved with another cohort and find other opportunities for practicing. It sounds like there's the Fridays, and I think there's something today too. I'm not able to make the next one because the day doesn't work for me, but I'm hoping there's another one in the future.
Yes, you're really wanting to continue with the practice and find other opportunities to take part in maybe another cohort, and kind of just dealing with scheduling issues. So
yeah, and then one of the ways I want to take it forward right now is I talked about also introducing it at my school, and I have a question, which is if people want to learn how to do it more and practice it with other people in groups. I'm not technically a trainer. I'm wondering if I can just share and how to do that with them so that they can do that amongst each other, or if I need more training or need to send them to the training here.
Yes, I'm hearing you do want to spread the practice maybe in the schools, and you just have questions of how do you train people perhaps in the schools or in other situations, and sort of what's sort of needed there. Do they need to take the training, or just how does that really work?
Yeah.
Like some clarity about that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I feel
great,
heard.
I'll speak to Lynette. Okay. Yeah. We've been developing this training. We have scripts and kind of material, and it's all publicly available. So what we're trying to do is just really, make this very accessible to anyone. So if Sita wants to start training people, feel she's comfortable with it, we have the training material there. So we're just really trying to spread the tools.
So you have a structure set up with all the material, and you just want to get it out to the public so that they can take it and learn from it and go with it.
Yeah, so and this feedback is sort of a feedback loop to help us, kind of integrate what we've been learning, share it, but also to keep designing, keep iterating on the training, keep refining it. And so, yeah.
Okay, so you have the feedback loop so that you can continue growing your program and refining it and making it more accessible to everybody.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. That we get a really great training together. Aesthetically, it's not the most beautiful thing right now, but make it aesthetically, beautiful, accessible, that anyone, maybe you don't even have to take the training, that you can just learn through some videos or whatever. It's best to kind of take the training to get, to learn, to kind of learn the practice. But yeah, just wanting to make it as accessible to the world, kind of our offering to, kind of spread the practice.
Right. So that once you have, all this material put together, it's right now it's not aesthetically pleasing to you, but at the same point it's out there, and the more you work on it, the more it'll get there, and you'll be able to have it really well accessible to everybody. Yeah,
and what keeps coming up to me, and I think Lou always expresses it so much, is like the sort of the gratitude for everyone taking part. It just feels so good to have this whole group together. We're working on this. It just feels very constructive, and it's just like, it just feels really great. It's like I just have a really good feeling, around doing this.
Right. So it feels really good that you have all of this together, and that it's out there, and that you're hearing that feedback from everybody else that's in the groups that you train with, and that so that they can, so that you're able to feel that, and it brings this wonderful feeling of gratitude.
Yeah, and I think it's the connection, to have the connection with everyone here, that feels really good. It's a chaotic, crazy world, and just to have kind of constructive, connections, working on something, jointly for mutual growth and learning, just feels really good. And the connection of that with others.
So having that connection really helps with that gratitude piece, and that informs that that want, I guess, for others wanting to participate in
Yeah,
this
I feel
and
fully
get
heard.
into it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I feel fully heard. Thanks.
Okay. Sita, would you like to hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I really don't have much more to add. I really don't, just because I was absent so much. But yeah, I'm just excited to take this forward and to learn more, I guess, out of the whole practice, and just being able to continue to practice it and put it into my own life on a more regular basis.
Yeah. So the main thing I'm hearing from you is that you're just really excited to continue with this practice and taking it forward in your own life and into your community.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I guess some of the one thing that I have really enjoyed and was able to participate in, that is the empathy buddy calls. I really liked connecting with people on a one-on-one basis and getting to know them a bit more and to talk a bit more with like-minded people about empathy and where it fits for us and where it takes us.
Yeah, so I hear you say that you really enjoyed the empathy calls and you really enjoy connecting with people one-on-one and talking about empathy and getting to know people and then also seeing how the empathy fits into your own lives, hearing about that and talking about it.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I feel heard.
Okay, you're welcome. Let's see, Erin.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm thinking about what I want to say next. So I'm looking at the prompts here. Yeah, so I some of the things I'm thinking about and wondering about is I feel like for me, I've been doing some reading about empathy and I've watched some of Edwin's videos and it's been exciting and interesting to read about what's out there. And I also feel like so there's a part of me that wants to get out and do it, or whatever that means. And then there's another part of me that feels like I'm learning this process. And I feel like right now I need to be maybe a little bit more organic about it, get more experience. So I feel like I'm kind of looking for places where I can integrate it, and somehow I'm having trouble with that. Like I said, I've talked about school, but I noticed that coming up.
Can I take a time and ask if the background noise in my house is disrupting anyone? Okay, thank you. So I heard you say that you've been doing reading about empathy. You've been watching videos that Edwin is posting. You're feeling, excited about getting out and implementing it and using it. And at the same time, you also feel some connection to growing organically and maybe having more experience with it.
Yeah.
Especially as you did mention your school, but I want to hear more.
Did you say you want to hear more?
Yeah, I'm sorry. But I didn't catch the very end of what you said.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I just find myself thinking about it. And I think probably because, on one hand, I think probably because I'm learning the process, I feel like, yeah, I want to take this out. And at the moment, the groups that I'm most involved with right now are my friends and school. And it's been challenging getting my friends together at a particular time to do it. And I'm thinking about ways I could introduce it at school. And then also just wanting to get general practice and trying to think, well, how am I going to get the practice if I don't introduce it out there? So I think I'm just kind of maybe overthinking it a little bit, but I'm noticing that process going on in me.
So it sounds like you're navigating some of these pieces, where one is maybe that you have some possibilities of maybe having practice of Empathy Circle with friends or with at school, but it's maybe difficult to organize with friends or get the timing right, and then different things that you're kind of working through to find out where you can actually have more of the experience.
Yeah. So I think, at least in my mind, that's been one of the things that has felt a little challenging for me. Yeah, I think that's basically it for this portion.
Okay, so that's been one of the challenging things for you, is finding that practice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Lynette, would you listen?
Sure.
Okay. I'm realizing, I'm sorry if I came back around to you too fast.
That's okay.
Okay. So yeah, I just haven't had this happen before, but it sounds like somebody must have dropped by downstairs, and so it's very distracting. I'm trying to keep my concentration up. So I do apologize to everyone if I'm not on at this moment.
So you're experiencing some disruption in your home, and you think that it's disrupting others, and you want to apologize for that.
Yeah, and also probably distracting me from full attention.
Okay, and you find it distracting as well.
Yeah. So, but it's great, just I guess to see how important holding the space is, and as a facilitator, how you can create that, if you have the opportunity to control the environment, things like that.
Right. So you find it great that, this can actually add to the experience a little bit, so that you can actually maybe find that control and take that skill into a facilitator kind of piece.
Yeah. So I guess I didn't talk as much about next steps for building a culture of empathy, but I was actually understanding what Sita was, if I was understanding what Sita was saying correctly, feeling aligned with that, where I think that I'm going to try to get in the next cohort that I can. And I think I'm probably going to try to join other empathy cafes or online circles if I can. I'd love to connect with anyone else here who would like to do that. Just have more practice. It is very exciting to get to do it in person or with friends, or I love Malin's experience, that she had the other day with a friend, and that kind of organic stuff. But I think I'll just try to build everything simultaneously, like the structured things and organic stuff. And I do want more of that experience.
Okay, so you're just trying to find your process and what you're going to do to take your next steps, and how you're going to do that, whether it's, joining another cohort or finding other places to practice it online with the empathy cafes and things like that. And then perhaps building that with friends and family, and that, so that you can kind of have that experience and that organically and enjoy it.
Yeah. And I both have my lens is kind of on the world. I think Edwin is great on saying that everyone should have the opportunity here to learn this, so I have that lens, but I guess since I'm a practitioner, it's also on the individual.
Okay.
So
yeah, so you want to take it out to the world, but at the same time start small, is what I'm hearing, and have it more one-on-one, and then that will grow that seed. Is that what I'm hearing?
Kind of. I guess I'm just thinking how the individual will benefit, I guess.
Okay, so how others will benefit from this individually.
Exactly. Thank you. I feel fully heard.
I just want to say quickly, I need to take 1 minute break, so I'll be right back.
And when people come back, I think I'll just pass my turn because I've done one already. So somebody else wants to take a chance.
Okay, we'll just give it a minute for everyone to come back. Well, I'm glad glad Lynette, that you could join us for this last session too. And I think you'd signed up for the next one, I think for next week, right? For Wednesdays, session 9. So yeah, that cohort is full. We're still looking for a trainer for that.
Okay.
So not a trainer, a trainee, one more trainee. Yeah. But otherwise it's a full cohort.
Cool. Erin, that might be your opportunity.
Erin, there is your opportunity to be a trainee.
I'm not trainee yet. In an emergency, call me and I'll do it. But
okay, yeah, that's what Anne and Ben were doing, and Dean.
What's the time again? I was thinking that it would be like 9 o'clock my time. Is that what it is?
What's your time zone?
Eastern Standard.
Oh, it's 10 a.m. Pacific, so it's the same time as this one, but on a Wednesday.
Oh, I guess I didn't see that one advertised. I was looking at 11. I'm sorry.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's number 9. So we're kind of, number 9.
Yeah, let me know. I'll look at it. I might have something scheduled, but if not, then.
Well, I'll actually put the link in while we wait for Malin to.
Okay.
Are you talking about?
Would like to be if you'd like to be about the next cohort, the cohort 9, we're needing one trainee. It's a full cohort, but we're still waiting for the. Let's see.
That's the one on Wednesday morning.
Starting next week.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I got it here. There it is. That's the link to it. Okay, so go ahead, Lynette.
I had said I was going to pass my turn because I had.
Yeah, you can select someone, say, hey, I want to pass my turn. They'll reflect back and you can say, I feel fully heard. And
okay. Malin. Okay, I'm going to pass my turn because I've had one so short.
Okay, thank you. Edwin, could you please listen to me?
okay. You could have, in that point, you could have said, okay, Lynette, I hear you want to pass your turn. Then she could say, yeah, I feel fully heard. So, and what happens sometimes in that is that the person will come up with something new once they get that initial reflection. So it's just a time, that's the timeout.
Okay, let me try that. Lynette, I hear that you would like to pass your turn.
Yes, I feel fully heard. Thank you. I'm good.
Okay. And Edwin.
Okay, yeah, listening.
Yeah, great. So next step is hopefully the friend that I practiced the reflective listening with sort of spontaneously on Sunday will connect with some other friends that I did the circle with, because we are all friends, we're all activist friends. Right now we are not meeting so much in person. We have a lot of these digital meetings, and they are quite strict. Like we always have an agenda, we have a check-in, we have a checkout. So we don't have these spontaneous meetings where lovely organic things happen. So we'll see how it goes.
So I'm hearing that with your friend that you had that listening session with, that you meet with other friends, and it sounds like you want to find some way of starting like empathy circles with them. And your regular meetings tend to be very structured, and you don't have that kind of open flow like maybe in an empathy circle.
Yes, I mean, we have an agenda. Like we have a time where we start, we have a time when we end, and in both Extinction and Animal Rebellion, we have the regenerative culture, which means we have like 10 breaths where we sit in silence and ground ourselves, and then we do a check-in, which is great where we can speak, but we don't have the reflective part, but it's all about listening and creating space. And then we have a set agenda, and then the meeting has to end because people need to live their life, because activism for almost all of us is extracurricular. I'll stop there.
Yeah, so I'm hearing that for these activist meetings, there's a set agenda, people are busy, and you do have sort of space to sort of ground and for self-connection.
Yes, and I think if we could replace one meeting because it's sort of like I have two jobs. I have a job where I get paid, but then I have the activist role. We are really efficient and we get shit done. I just think we will be more sustainable and we will have less burnout if we throw in these empathy circles here and there. And I think it will be the same all over in society globally. So I guess like be the change, be an example. I really believe that we need more of this in the activist movement.
So you see the need for sort of this empathy circles or this empathic mindset in the activist movement. So you're sort of living the change that you want to create.
Yes, it's just kind of hard to I mean, we have a lot of meetings. Like I just came from a meeting to this meeting. I have one tomorrow. I have one on Thursday. I have one on Friday. I have like a demonstration also tomorrow in the middle of the day, because we can do that in Sweden, but we can't be too many. We need to have a mask, but we can do it. So I wonder, like, I will try to be sort of gentle doing it, and maybe like I tricked my friend on Sunday. Because she was like, what was that? Like reflective listening. And then I said, oh, you didn't know I'm doing this training and we can do this whole thing in a circle. So like maybe just start doing it organically in my everyday life, and then people will notice it and get interested, and it will sort of fold out on its own.
Yeah, so you're seeing that implement this in a sort of an organic way, just like you did with your friend. You just listened to her when she needed to be heard, and you kind of look for the opportunities of how to organically bring it into your life and into the activist community.
Yeah, and also not mention like, let me practice the reflective listening. Just like, do it and see what happens. Because I felt like I needed to explain myself, but I don't think that's actually necessary.
Yeah, so instead of trying to explain yourself and say, we're going to do this, it's very structured. You kind of just slowly sort of organically bring it in.
Thank you. I feel heard.
And Erin, should I speak to you? Yeah, you're muted. Yeah, that's always the challenge of how to bring sort of this mindset into the everyday world, and sometimes having, kind of pushing it, people kind of push back. So how to do it without pushing is always a challenge for me, at least, because I kind of want to push everybody.
So it sounds like you'd love to push everybody into this, but you notice that push can have pushback, and it's better to have a more gentle kind of introduction and use of it many times.
Yeah, so it's always a challenge, like how to sort of spread it and engage people, and I do hope that sort of bring it into the politics with the congressional representatives taking part, that will sort of model it, and And I love the activist community because they get out there and they sort of push at sort of a social level. And so I want to take like I keep mentioning, I want to take the empathy tent to Congress and the White House, set it up there, and then we push, for the politicians to, yeah, I see some support there.
Yeah, so you have hopes to really move this forward in politics and kind of see some of the actions like activist movements as a way of moving it forward.
Yeah, and how to merge so the empathy and activism. So when we set up the empathy tent, we start with an empathy circle with all the participants. It's like, oh, how are you and what anxieties, and that really helps ground. So for activists, before they do an action to connect, it kind of grounds, you feel more grounded, and a lot of that tension, which is very tense being out there and the activists, you're confronting the police or whatever. And if you're grounding with empathic listening, you just feel, you feel more settled and feel heard, and it dissipates some of that anxiety.
So actually, I'm hearing that you can be of support to activists by being there on the front lines, in the spaces where there can be like tensions rising, and giving an opportunity in a circle to be grounded.
And then there's the call is for an empathy circle. So the call is for whoever the people in power are, whoever you're demonstrating, to get their attention, that one of the demands is that they take part in an empathy circle. So creating space for the police, come sit down with us. We want to have an empathy circle with you, police, and whoever the officials are, we're demanding that you have an empathy circle with us. So it becomes part of actually what the demand is. It's like if it's, for animal rights or environment, like, hey, we want to have an empathy circle on this topic. So it becomes one of the demands.
So in a demonstration, one of the demands can be for an empathy circle for the people at play, the powers that are present.
And then also after the demonstration, like then you've been in the middle of this, it's like everything's totally tense, everybody's like totally keyed and wound up. Then you do an empathy circle to sort of, well, how was that for you? And it kind of helps integrate the experience. And I know Carolina from Poland, she was at one of the demonstrations for XR after, and she said, it was like people were just in tears. He said it was these men, they were crying because they got all this pent up anxiety and they had a space to sort of share it. And so it can be very sort of grounding, to kind of talk it through and release those tensions with empathy.
So also the empathy circle can be key after a demonstration, it sounds like, to check in and with each other and to process like the high level of emotions and to release and maybe for some catharsis. And it sounds like you were relaying some firsthand experience on this of someone, Carolina, in Poland, and having, men in tears.
Yeah.
During the circle after.
And that's my time. Feel fully heard.
Will you listen to me?
Who?
I think I made it myself. Sita? Did you?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so, wow, that's really cool. I like learning that stuff. And love the idea of making our demands first demand, sit and circle with us. Love that. It's great.
Yeah, so I just hear that you're really loving hearing about what Edwin had to share about the empathy circles and bringing that to government, and how the first demand can be to, hey, come sit with us in this empathy circle. It seems like you feel
Yeah.
very inspired by that.
Yeah, definitely. And some part of me feels very much that I would like to make those demands in the medical community too, like bioethics, medical ethics and things. That's just an area that I, would love to make that demand that's so highly polarized and not enough empathy there.
Yeah, so you're noticing that there's part of you that would really like to make those demands with the bioethics and medical ethics community, that there's just not a lot of empathy there, and you would like to bring that to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I guess I'm just like at the moment, I'm just kind of feeling through that. Because to some extent, it's probably just like Edwin was saying, like, tensions that are there, the feelings, the strong feelings and everything. And then, griefs and sadness kind of come up in that. So like just talking about that, I definitely feel those feelings. I want to kind of honor those in this moment.
Yeah. So you're noticing different feelings coming up as you're reflecting on this and talking about it, and reflecting on just the different feelings that Edwin was sharing about with when Carolina had a circle after the demonstration, and how those feelings come up with issues around bioethics as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so wanting to give space for that.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just gonna I've just, I guess put that out there, and then would like to keep building it, keep promoting culture of empathy in my family and in my community, and then maybe that's something in the larger medical community that I'll just sort of keep out there and look for opportunities in the future, I guess.
Yeah. So you're just thinking about, you want to keep that. Seems like you want to keep that idea in mind, and right now focus on building a culture of empathy with your family and with your community members. But thinking about looking at ways in the future that you might be able to reach out to the wider medical community with empathy circles.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome. Yeah. Let's see. Lynette, do you listen to me? Okay. Yeah. So I'm also really appreciating hearing these stories, and hearing about Carolina's experience, and also I've been aware of XR, but I haven't looked into it deeply at all, and it's been intriguing to me, just the whole idea of regenerative culture building. And I know that empathy circles are practiced in some groups there, and I really like that idea of combining activism with empathy circles, and sounds like mindfulness, Malin, in the group that you're working with. And that sounds, I just really am intrigued and really like hearing about that.
So you are enjoying all the stories that you're hearing through the discussion of this empathy circle, and you're curious about XR and how that can, how you can combine, I guess, the empathy circle with other things. and that to bring it forward into the world.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing.
Yeah, yeah. And so yeah, so it just I guess right now I feel kind of reflective about all of that, and feel inspired by just hearing about different ways that empathy and mindfulness are going out into the world in those ways.
So you're reflective and mindful about what you're hearing, with all the different options that empathy can be used into the world.
Yeah. Just trying to see if there's anything else. Yeah, I think I feel more reflective than anything else at the moment. So I think I'll just stop there.
Okay, so you are just wanting to enjoy being reflective at this moment.
Yeah, thank you for hearing me.
Okay. Edwin.
Yep, listening.
Okay. In this whole conversation, Aaron, this one thought came to mind about the scientific community and bioethics. Alda has a wonderful podcast out there, and I don't know if Edwin can maybe get in touch with him at some point, or one of us get in touch with him, and that to introduce this. His podcast is all about bringing communication to scientists, and that and getting them to hear each other. So this might be a really good in for that.
Mm-hmm. So you know that Alan Alda has a podcast where he tries where he tries to bring sort of the humanities into science, and this might be something he might be interested in. So thinking about how to connect with him.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, thank you. I've been heard.
Okay, feeling fully heard. It's an idea you had and you want to share. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
I'll speak to Malin then. What was coming up for me is about Lynette's working with trauma, and I think the empathy work is pretty central to trauma. In the sense that it kind of helps stop it, keep it from happening. So if you have domestic violence, if we can bring empathy circles into families where they sort of learn these skills and sort of develop this trust, that I think it can do a lot to head off the violence and the trauma that gets created, so.
What happened to you when you were listening to Lynette talking about Ellen Alda's podcast? How, and trauma is how these empathy circles can prevent trauma from happening, for example, in abusive families and so forth.
So it's like get to the trauma upstream before it happens, and then when it does happen, there is the healing aspect of empathy, to people who are impacted, and can also have that healing aspect. So I see it as very central to the work that Lynette is doing.
So the empathy circles can, in addition to stop the trauma, also help healing from trauma.
Yeah, can we train families, all the family members in being facilitators, have the kids learn it, and, the couples or when early in the relationship that they learn it. So I think it would just really help address trauma. Yeah, so I guess, yeah.
A great way to address trauma would be by training family members and parents, and they can train their kids, for example, in dealing with trauma and also preventing trauma.
Yeah, and also Alan Alda, I've been tracking his show. He talked a lot about empathy. I have his book here, which is actually pretty much about empathy. He hasn't invited me on his show yet. On his Twitter feed, I kind of posted there and said, hey, what about this empathy? But he never said, oh yeah. So if you want to tell him, Lynette, send him a message. You got to check this out. That would be great, because he has talked a lot about empathy. He's had a lot of, specifically his podcast has been about empathy. He hasn't talked about it recently, but for a while it was like a big part of his show.
You have reached out to Ellen Alda on Twitter and mentioned empathy, as Ellen Alda has talked a lot about empathy at times in his podcast.
Yeah, and if we can get him to do an empathy circle and model it, I mean, that'd be pretty cool, because, it's the modeling of it. I think that people say, oh, if Ellen Alda is doing it, I should, do it too. So that's another aspect, is how do we, have people like him who, have such a big reputation to model it would be pretty good.
It would be really cool if we could have Ellen Alda in an empathy circle. Although, how do we how do we connect with him?
Yeah.
How do we invite him?
Yeah, exactly. So I feel fully heard. Yep.
Thank you. And I feel heard too, so I can pass. Maybe Erin. I'll just say one thing. I'll share one thing. And it's one thing that I noticed with the empathy circles is that 5 minutes is like really long today, compared to what I did my first empathy circle. It was nothing. And I think it's because we truly listen to each other, and then time changes.
So you're noticing that 5 minutes when we started this cohort, the 5 minutes in a circle felt like not much time at all. And now at the end of 5 weeks, it feels like a lot of time.
Yeah, thank you. I feel fully heard.
Okay, Edwin, will you listen?
Yep, listening. I'm just going to broadcast to everyone. There's about 10 minutes. Yep. Okay. I'm listening.
Okay, so that's interesting. And I'm wondering if I got what Malin was saying. I feel like she was saying that because we've heard each other so much, that time we don't have as much need to get so much out or something. I don't know if that's what she was saying.
Yeah, you're trying to see if you understand Malin, and it's thinking that it's because we feel heard so much, right? There's not like a lot to say or that we really need to express, because we've sort of been heard.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I like that too. Another thing I just want to add that I did gather out of this, there's so many good things on personal development that I felt from this, but one of them was I realized that I always knew this, but now I understand it a little bit more functionally, that I can figure out what I'm thinking and feeling when I'm myself very easily. And when I'm with one-on-one, I can figure out what I'm thinking and feeling. But in a group, it's so much harder for me to have access to like what I'm thinking and feeling. So yeah, that was something I gathered, and that's important to me because I want to change that a little bit. And I think this is practice for that.
So you've noticed that when you're by yourself, you can sort of access what you're thinking and feeling. When you're sort of one-on-one, you can access that. But when you're in a group, it's like harder to access those thoughts and feelings, and it's something you'd like to change. Sounds like try to actually access that in a group setting.
And this is good practice for that.
Well, yeah, and so you're getting to practice. This helps practice that.
And then the other thing that I got that was so valuable was how reinforcing the process was of so much value for the process. And what I mean by that is like I tend to kind of like avoid conflict a little bit. So that's kind of another piece, another part of my group dynamic. I don't know what I'm thinking. I don't say what I'm thinking or feeling. And then I'm probably I'm going to avoid conflict a little bit, more. And so I had a change of thinking where I don't see facilitating and bringing people back into that process as conflict. I see that as a real positive thing. And that was a good, that would be a good skill for me to develop, I think.
I'm not sure I quite got that, but it's that because in a group setting, you're not sort of accessing your own thoughts and feelings, that you have concern about dealing with conflict in that environment. And that, but you're seeing here that the process sort of reinforces that you're not really dealing with conflict, you're just holding the process itself. So it makes it kind of easier to deal in a group with conflict. I don't know if I was getting.
I think it might help me deal with conflict in the future, but the main thing that I was just noticing was that keeping the structure integrity and reinforcing that is not real conflict. It's inviting people to stay part of the process more.
Oh, so keeping people within the process is not a conflict issue. It's in just an invitation to stay with the process. It's not a conflict.
And that might expand my concept of conflict if I allow it, a little bit too. And I'm not sure how, but I will think about that more in the future.
So you see that having sort of that awareness sort of expands how you address and deal with conflict in general. You're not quite sure on how that fits, but there's something there. There's some meaning there, and you're kind of exploring that.
Thank you. I feel fully heard.
Okay, then Sita, if I can speak to you.
Yeah.
That aspect of, you get heard and then everything becomes kind of easy and you get into this space where I don't have a lot, not a lot is coming up. That's interesting. That's an interesting, sort of a space. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're just kind of noticing or reflecting on the idea of you get heard and then it's feeling easy, and then there's not maybe a whole lot more to say, and this is kind of an interesting space to be.
Yeah, so there was something else I wanted to say and I can't remember what it was. Yeah, maybe I can just get a reflection on that.
Okay. Yeah, so there's something else that you wanted to say, but you're not remembering what it was right now.
Yeah, I feel kind of almost like in a meditative sort of a state. Maybe I should just meditate here for my 5 minutes. What would be? Yeah, we just do that. Sort of like it's like the what do you call it? The Quakers. They just sit in quiet until someone feels like an inspiration sort of comes into the space. Maybe would be something.
Yeah. So you're feeling kind of meditative right now, and you're sitting back and thinking about the Quakers and how when they are in meeting together, they sit in silence and just speak when something comes and inspires them. So you're thinking maybe you'll just use your 5 minutes to be silent.
Yeah, and it reminds me of the process from Gene Gendlin, who has worked with Carl Rogers. He developed focusing, and in the focusing, you just describe the felt experience you have in your body. So I feel like, kind of an easy sort of a floating, space. But in my head, it's like, well, I got to keep the conversation going, right? So there's kind of two things going on in my body, just like, just kind of relax into the space. And, I have to say something to keep the conversation going. So I noticed that.
Yeah. So you're reflecting on Eugene Gendlin's focusing process and describing the felt sense that you feel when in focusing, and you're noticing sort of like a floating feeling in your body, but in your mind you're noticing this feeling of, I need to keep up the conversation, and so both of those are going on at the same time.
Yeah, and it's like I feel some appreciation for being able to name those sensations in my body. It's, there's another sensation. It's nice to just name the sensations that are in my body, and sort of a general feeling of appreciation to be able to share those sensations in my body.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're also noticing that there's a sense of appreciation for just being able to name what you're experiencing in your body right now.
And I'd like to, like in a future module, or is like, how do we do focusing within an empathy circle, right? It's like, you don't talk about the ideas, but you just name the felt experience in the moment to moment felt experience. And like, I can feel like this idea that I'm sharing is sort of in this part of my mind, in my part of my body. And so in focusing, you just share the felt experience. And I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe we can do that in an empathy circle too. So that's like sort of advanced.
Yeah. So you're thinking about how maybe in a future module, you'd like to incorporate focusing into empathy circles and thinking about how to do that, you know, and just reflecting on one's felt senses while in the empathy circle.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things we can do to sort of deepen, like how do we really deepen, you know, the sort of the sharing and the reflection. And there's a lot of different, there's also the motivational interviewing, which is about having, I see that, which is about, okay, here I have this thought and I have this feeling and they're sort of in conflict, right? And how do I give each of them a voice, and how do they sort of dialogue with each other too? So there's sort of that. So it's very, the empathic listening is only sort of the beginning. It's like a first baby step to, you know, a lot of these other sort of practices.
Yeah. So you're thinking about different ways how to deepen this empathy practice. And so focusing is one of the things that you're thinking about. You're also reflecting on motivational interviewing and how that can deal with these conflicts of these two different parts. One is saying one thing, one is saying the other, and how to bring that into empathy circles so you can continue to deepen the process, because the empathy circles, as we're practicing them now, are really just sort of like the entry way into empathy practice.
I feel very well heard, and it's also gonna close the room, so the people will come back in about a minute. So, but yeah, so thank you. Yeah, thanks everyone for sharing this. And I saw Lynette when I mentioned it, motivational interviewing. I don't know, have you done focusing, Sita? You seem to.
I have, yeah.
You seem to resonate with that.
I have found it to be really useful in my life, and amazing what can come out of it too. You know, so many unexpected things. Yeah, it's been very powerful practice.
Oh, great. Yeah. So I do see what we're doing here as a gateway to each of those practices, you know, because they were both developed, you know, they both kind of grew out of the empathic listening of Carl Rogers. So motivational interviewing is Bill Miller, who I've interviewed. And then there's Jean Genlin for the focusing.
I was reading a little bit about, and I think an article that you co-wrote with somebody. I can't remember her. Oh, I'll talk about it later. Yeah.
Great.
Is that everyone back now? I think so. Well, I'd like to welcome you all back. And we're going to have a few rounds now to try and draw out some of the jewels from what we've been talking about in the last hour and a half. So the first thing we'd like to ask you is, what did you like about the trainings and the benefits to you and to those around you? So I'll call upon people just to speed up the process. That's all right. I'll call upon Sita first. Thank you.
Yeah. So there are a lot of things that I've liked about the training. And one of those things is just meeting everybody here and getting to know people a little bit, and meeting people from all over. And so that's been lovely. And I've also really enjoyed hearing some of the stories from people and how they have been practicing empathy in their lives, and also, you know, what they've done with empathy circles. And then also just noticing the process of the speaking and the listening, and how the process of you know, shortening the amount of time that one speaks, and then also the reflecting back seems to slow things down and create some kind of a rhythm, and I think really aids the feeling of connection between people. So all of those things are things that I've really appreciated. Thank you.
You're muted, Dean. I don't know if you're.
Can I call upon Lynette, because you're having to go shortly, please?
Thank you. Yes, sorry about that. I guess for me, I've just really enjoyed the whole process of what I've been able to participate in, and to continue on with those empathy buddy calls and connect with people, and just yeah, just, you know, being able to practice this and being allowed to, you know, plant those seeds to bring it into my life a lot more, and for it to actually become a culture. To me, a culture is living, eating, breathing, right, in definition. And so just to be able to have that opportunity to practice and to place that more. So thank you.
Thank you, Lynette. Erin.
Oh, wow. So I've enjoyed so much. First off, getting to know you all, and especially people who are taking the time to promote empathy. It's really nice. And I felt a lot of personal benefit from the practice in terms of like being able to verbalize how I'm feeling, you know, like the pacing of how I'm talking, practicing the deep listening and reflecting. And I didn't mention before, but I think that the buddy calls are really great. And so I've really benefited from that. I think that helps kind of like hearing about how people are integrating it into their lives and things is really valuable. And just getting another opportunity to connect is really nice. So yeah, just in so many ways, it's been a wonderful experience. And I am excited to bring it more into my life and you know, practice more.
Thank you, Erin. Malin.
I am so impressed that we all managed to do this for a little over a month, and we all kept showing up. We were on time, we were really organized, and also that you organizer asked us for feedback so you can improve this workshop. And I think you have a receipt, like people show up and they come back. So as long as people keep doing that, you're doing the right thing. And I hope, because I have really noticed when I listen to others, I have less anxiety, I can be more relaxed, I can be more connected with myself. And I hope this will stay, even though I won't have the Tuesday practice. So this will be very interesting. So in a few weeks or months, I might join another cohort, or I guess just keep doing empathy circles, like the Friday ones, where you can facilitate. Yeah, so there's plenty of opportunity to keep up. Because I think it's like a muscle or health. Like if you don't practice it, it kind of goes away, or there's less of it. I have a lot of gratitude, both to you guys and the teachers, and also to myself. Like Tuesday evenings, I'm a little bit tired, but I've been doing it. Oh, so good job, everybody. Yeah.
Thank you, Malin. Celine.
Well, I've been appreciating the allowing, the acceptance, and the trust in the process. It makes it an enjoyable experience, and there's a sense of so much acceptance I think that creates community, and I love that. Thank you. It was great. I'm coming back.
Thank you, Celine. Graham.
Yes, I've enjoyed the whole session, and I just really want to end on a personal note, which will affect any facilitating I do. And I've been in two groups, one with Sita and one with Dean just now, where we allocated the last minutes. It was something like 10 minutes with Sita and 5 minutes with Dean. And when you're in an empathy circle, you build up all sorts of desires to speak and address all sorts of feelings and issues that are circling in and around the group. And by relaxing the sequence in the last minutes of an empathy session, empathy group session anyway, is very liberating and enables all that desire to connect to actually come through. And so that's my takeaway from today. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Graham. Sunita.
Okay. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone, because this has been a very enriching journey for me, and it's very inspiring. So I have enrolled for another cohort, and I look forward to that. Yes. Yeah, there's so much that I take from here. The connection, the skill of communication, and the importance of being present, and just practicing compassion and love and care. So thank you for showing me the beauty of something so simple as sitting in a circle. Thank you.
Thank you, Sunita. Shima.
I'm still here, just my electricity went out. Okay, it's back. So this has been a life-changing experience for me. And I think that it really helped me as a counselor, because I experienced how the value of empathy is so therapeutic. And I experienced how I think it increased my self-confidence and increased my sense of connection with others. So it was just like a firsthand experience. And there's so much I love about this class. I don't have enough time to say everything about it. Just the instructors, the passion of the instructors, and the organization of the class, and the warmth and community. So there's just so much that I loved about it. So thank you.
Thank you, Shima. Rasha.
Hi. I just want to begin by saying that these empathy circles have been truly therapeutic for me. I mean, it's every Tuesday, I look forward to coming to this familiar group of people and just having, circles. It just somehow made my life the last month a little brighter, and I'm deeply grateful for that. And I always had this, kind of disconnect, or I was always resistant to move online. Like I was always, very resistant about this idea where we could connect with people in an online space. I mean, workshops for me needed to be in a space where people were present with each other. But it's amazing how over here, all of us from different corners of the world just come together, and there's so much connection, there's so much care, and it's beautiful. It's something that's that I find truly remarkable. And I must say that the workshop, this empathy circle practice has possibly added more value to me. I've gained more from here than from some of the paid training that I've done. I mean, there were some trainings which I actually paid for, but then I didn't have this enthusiasm or interest to kind of just come back and attend them. But over here, it was just there. Like I've said a couple of times in some of my breakout rooms, it's really late here for me, and this has been one of the most busiest month for me, but I still keep coming back, and that's truly because of how valuable it is. And a great job by Edwin and the rest of the instructors. I can not be thankful enough. And I remember one of the other things that I must mention is about the empathy buddy calls. So outside of what we have over here, the buddy calls also did add a lot of value. I mean, some of the buddy calls were just so marvelous, so beautiful. I mean, I could truly connect and get to know some people, and I feel like I'm going back with a couple of, good friends, right? So, and I'm deeply grateful for that. So I think that's about what I wanted to say. Just, in fact, I was telling in my breakout room about how yesterday I was just wondering about, it's going to be a little sad because this is the last session of this group of people. And so I just want to say I'm going to miss you all. And I'm glad there are other avenues that I can come back to, like the cafes, and and we all have each other's email IDs. So hopefully I'll get in touch with all of you, and deeply, deeply grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Rasha. David.
Okay. So yeah, it's been basically a wonderful journey for me. Yeah, just sticking to the question, I think what I mostly appreciate is the sense of common humanity within us all that has arisen in here. I think like when I was signing up for this training, I was feeling like, well, am I enough to even be facilitating circles? And will I do good? And then after first two weeks, I was just feeling that we all came here with doubts and with maybe feeling of being a little bit lost, and I felt connected to other people so much via this feeling, and I really appreciate that. And I also really appreciate the form that that this training is being taught in. Like that, at first I was a little skeptical how, okay, we were supposed to be learning how to facilitate empathy circles and not participating in an empathy circle, but really this form of discussing via a circle has been really, really wonderful, and I feel great connection to each and every one. And yeah, just a big thank you for all. It's been great.
Thank you, David. I'll now pass on to Anne, who will take over the second part. Oh, you're muted, Anne.
Yeah, so we have a second question for you that we'd like to gather your responses to. And so during the training, what challenges did you experience? And what are your ideas for improving it, please? And once again, I'll go round and call on people. So if I may start with Sita, and I'll name the next person again so you know. So Sita, after Sita, Celine.
In thinking about challenges from this class in particular, I don't know that any come to mind really. I feel like there's just been a lot of thought and heart put into the planning of the class. I feel like yeah, I think the main thing I can share again is just a lot of gratitude to the instructors for offering this, and to everyone for showing up in the way that everyone has, and also I will be sad to say goodbye to this group as a group, and yeah, so right now I can't really think of something I would say that I had trouble with in terms of the structure of the class. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Sita. Celine, and after Celine, Graham.
In terms of the challenges, I'm thinking there are no challenges with the class, but in terms of learning and practicing the process, I think it's for me about both, on the one hand, focus, attention, and on the other, relaxation, and being able to hold both of those. And mostly it's a matter of practice and gaining confidence. So that's what I would say about challenges, is just enough to push my learning edge and sometimes let me flop over like so knowing what my edge is, that's very valuable. So thank you. A great process for me.
Thank you, Celine. Graham, and then Malin.
And I pick up from Celine's words there, where it's knowing your own edge that really sort of is important. And for me, all your challenges were super, and I don't suggest they be any deeper or more complex or anything. The real thing for me lies with just developing familiarity, a skill, and confidence, and faith, if you like, faith that as a facilitator I can do my job well, and other people will also benefit and support me. So yeah, the idea is just to get more practice, and I'll see you guys again. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Malin, and after Malin, Erin, please.
So the two practical things. The first one is the time. 2.5 hours is quite long, especially for sitting down, looking into a screen. I don't think we can do it shorter. I think 2.5 hours is appropriate. It would be nice with more clarity with the breaks. And I know you've been saying, like, just take a break when you need it. I still have this performance anxiety, want to please the teacher issue, where I don't like to do that, because I want to like go on really hard, do good work for 2.5 hours. I don't need any kind of breaks. But that's more on me. But just so you know that there might be other performance princesses out there who might join in these cohorts. And the other one, yeah, the time and the break, that was it. And then I noticed in the beginning, I got really tired. So after like 2 hours, I wasn't really listening because I was so tired. But now when I learned how to listen without pouring myself into it and, you know, trying to fix and remember and what's expected out of me, now that I'm a better listener, I last longer. So I still have energy after 2 hours and 6 minutes compared to a month ago. I used to be exhausted by now. So it's a learning, for me, it's been a huge learning process. Thank you.
Thank you, Malin. Erin, and after Erin, Rasha, please.
When you ask about challenges, I thought about the challenges that we had the opportunity to address, like as facilitators when we were facilitating. And I thought that that was very valuable. And I felt like the range of the challenges was appropriate, you know, like, and that was very important, I think. So I really appreciated that a lot. And I can't remember what else I wanted to say, but just I mean, I heard Celine say the word sweet spot, and I think she was talking about between, you know, your focus and attention on listening and being engaged and active, and then relaxation. But I think, like, I would say that this, you know, the training hits a sweet spot too, because it seems to like provide enough challenge to build confidence, and also to like get to experience it yourself and have like that firsthand like knowledge of it. And so yeah, it's wonderful. And I don't really have any, you know, suggestions at this time. I really am super grateful to everybody.
Thanks, Erin. And after Rasha, Shima, please.
Hi. So one challenge that I want to talk about, but this is very personal. I don't know whether it affects all of you or anyone else, but is something that I mentioned in one of the previous sessions, where I usually tend to take the energy that, you know, I feel during the session into my, you know, life after the session. So that's the only thing. So if the session goes really well, then I'm like, you know, that positive energy sticks with me, and I go back with that. If it goes otherwise, if there, you know, if there were challenges, and if it was, you know, a little difficult, then I go back with, you know, a little, I'm a little, what do you say, disturbed, right? And it kind of carries with me to the rest of the day. So I think that's very personal. That's something that I possibly need to work on, and probably, you know, there are self-empathy practices like, you know, breathing exercises and stuff, which I can possibly do after the long session. So that's one. And another thing would be about the timing. You know, not the timing of the whole, what do you say, the whole session, the 2.5 you know, hours, but the ones where we get to talk for 5 minutes, and, you know, timing it, and, you know, making sure that we stick to the time, making sure everybody gets. So as a facilitator, those are things that I keep getting worried about, right? So, you know, and I think, but this is something that with practice and with experience we can overcome. And so one suggestion would be to possibly, once we go into the breakout rooms, before we begin, you know, the empathy circle practice, maybe talking a little bit about confidentiality and about the space being very non-judgmental, maybe taking a small oath of confidentiality, because people do tend to share a little bit about, you know, things from their life and stuff. And some people may not be very comfortable with that, but giving that feeling that this is a very safe and, you know, a confidential place may help them, you know, be more relaxed and talk more, you know, freely. So that's just one, what do you say, suggestion that I have. Other than that, I remember having a conversation once with Edwin where you were asking, like, you know, about the things that can be added, or in, you know, ways to improve. But honestly speaking, this is one of the most brilliantly organized, you know, training programs that I've attended. So it's very, very beautifully organized. So thank you. That's all.
So after Shima, Sunita, please.
So I echo what Rasha said, that this was very beautifully organized, and I can't really think of any challenges. I mean, one challenge could be that people don't feel like they're good enough at being empathic listeners. So they have this, you know, low self-confidence about that. But the instructors are so affirming and gentle that it's not really a challenge, because that gets solved.
Thank you, Shima. Sunita?
Yeah, as everyone I think mentioned, my challenge, personally, I would say my challenge was focusing, being fully present, and practicing empathy. So these were things that I was trying, and I was trying hard to do it to the best of my ability, and that was, and then that brought about some kind of stress. So that's the reason why I want to continue practicing, because I think these 5 weeks, you know, 5 times isn't enough for me. Yeah, so that's on a personal level, but otherwise, I just have my deepest gratitude for everything. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest challenge was myself, and listening to all those things. I think this is somehow a common tune, I'd say. So yeah, I unfortunately I have some mental problems, so that made me unable to attend last week session, but nonetheless, I felt very much welcome to come back, even though I missed something, even though I was late today, and I feel very grateful for it. And yeah, and and so it's not really a suggestion, but this making this sense of being welcome, even though you couldn't be the best of yourself, is wonderful, and it is wonderful that I felt it, and I wanted to. Yeah, if I were to give a suggestion, I would say to do that, but it is already done. So yeah, that's for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. I didn't miss you, did I? Okay, so I'm going to pass over to Bill now.
Okay, so the third question is about, and I'll put these in the chat. Oops, no, that didn't work. Okay, there it is. We have empathy, care, openness, and mutuality. This is not a hard and fast or comprehensive list, but these are some of the core values that we feel we want to promote and would be important for a culture of empathy. So the third question is how you have the circle, you have the skills to whatever extent, and then how do you see that fitting in or going forward and creating a culture of empathy? Because that's what we're all going to do. We're going to create a culture of empathy. Anyway, so I'll go around and I'll start off with someone who might have, just want to raise their hand, who has an initial response, because this is quite a deep question to spring on you in the moment. Does anybody want to start? Okay,
I'll
Edwin.
start. Yeah, so for me, it's about raising the level of empathy within society. So I just feel that if we can do that, it's going to contribute to the greater well-being of the world. And so it's always looking for opportunities to spread that practice. And what we're doing here, I think, is just one gateway practice, and always looking how to bring more people into the practice. But it's it's deeper than that. It's more of a way of being, and it's just trying to listen, to be open to listen to others, kind of be open to hear what they have to say, be open with myself, and try to do it mutually. So it's yeah, just really trying to sort of spread the the mindset. And I think learning these practices and these skills just really helps with creating that kind of a society.
Okay, and I'll go around my screen, and if you're at a loss for words, that's fine too. You can pass. So I don't want to put you on the spot too much. Erin?
Actually, it's funny. I was gonna thank you for putting me on the spot with this, because you said, and this is what we're gonna do. You said we're going to promote a culture of empathy, and so it's I think it's a great ending to this, to say, okay, what are you going to do with it? And I think that I came to this because I did feel, for myself, and then for people that I'm trying to help with their health and their well-being, that I thought that we were suffering because we weren't connected with each other the way we should be. We weren't connected with nature the way we were intended, or, you know, with our connected to ourselves. I think this process is something that, you know, outside of therapy, people can do together that do connect them. You know, so I think that it's on a level of like health and wellness. It's like a great thing to promote, and it fits in with what my agenda was there. And so I hope to just, you know, teach people, you know, this, and or offer it, or just, you know, facilitate it. So I think that's really good. And then I do think about like on a bigger scale that cohesion, like our sense that we're more like each other than we are different, is something that, you know, we got to start with something like this to start accomplishing that, because I think that's very important for healing what's happening in the world. So I don't even remember what the question was, but I remember you got me to say, like, I'm going to start, it's going down in my daily agenda, you know, how am I doing this today? Because of how you posed it, Bill. So that's good.
All right, it's going on your permanent record. All right, so Malin.
I remember in my very first circle that you said that when we listen to ourselves being reflected, we create some self-empathy. And I have really experienced that. Also listening to you others, and now that I'm thinking, like, I literally grew up being very little seen by my parents, and I became like really good in school and burned out eventually because I just wanted to be seen and heard so badly. So this is sort of trauma work, and like Erin said, it's therapeutic. Like, I have 2 therapists, and I will probably see a therapist more or less for the rest of my life. But if I can find community, maybe I don't need to see a therapist, but I don't want my friends to be my therapists. So, but I do think we people have the ability to like heal each other in healthy communities. It's just hard to really find those. But I mean, I can be part of creating that with time. So, thanks.
Thank you, Malin. Sita?
Yeah, I think I've kind of forgotten the question too, but I'll just speak about what I'm thinking. I feel really grateful to be working in the kind of field that I'm working in and with the people that I'm working with. I work a lot with acupuncture students who in my experience are really lovely, empathetic people. And so it's been lovely to have that experience at work and with friends. And what I love about the empathy circles is it has a very specific structure to build this more deeply into the world, and anyone can learn how to do it. And I love the fact that it's just very simple and there's a structure. And so that's just something that keeps on coming back to me, and the values of it are very clear, and you can go back to the values to just kind of check yourself. And so that's one part. And then Erin, I also liked your reflection from what Bill said as far as, okay, how am I going to take this forward today? You know, and that's a really nice touchstone to come back to too. So those are the 2 reflections I have right now. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And just to repeat the question, it's about bring forth the culture of empathy, and the values we're talking about are empathy, care, openness, mutuality. But of course, you can have your own interpretation of that. Celine.
Well, I just got a text that my first grandchild is being born, so I'm pretty excited. And prior to that, I was thinking about what I would like to promote through this empathy circles is for people to learn that listening doesn't mean agreement. I can listen to somebody raging about something that I totally disagree with presence and respect and empathy. And it doesn't mean that I'm committed to joining them in any way. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Thank you.
Thank you, Celine. Graham?
I think about what Marlene said when she first came on this afternoon, where she talked about listening to a friend, and she felt her friend and watched her friend come down to earth and diffuse and relax. And Shyam has also been talking about the same sort of ideas. And these are the kind of things that my experience of empathy is beginning to bring to light, is that just as a listener or as a friend, we can help with the well-being of other people. And so I keep that kind of thing sharply in mind. The other one is that I come from a world where listening, I've basically never listened in my life. I couldn't keep jobs because I couldn't listen. And so I've got some very long and hard experience about not listening. And the whole world of empathy is really another world, it's another language, and it takes a long time to learn. And what I'm saying to myself is, and I've got myself some quite strenuous timetables. I have to learn to be able to listen and listen empathically and effectively. And that is my first objective. And then I think all sorts of other things will flow from that. So the culture of empathy basically starts with me, this guy.
All right, I'll hold you to that. Thanks, Graham. Okay, David.
Thank you. So, wow, there's been so many inspiring things said around here. I can't really wrap my head around. So, yeah, honestly, for me, I'm feeling recently that there is so much, like it's easy to get a feeling that there is so many bad things going on all around the world. And what this workshop has reminded me is that there are solutions as well. And so I may be feeling that, yeah, right now I'm feeling somehow equipped to deal with this world around me. And this weapon of empathy is just, it's just wonderful. I mean, I'm still learning the process. I'm still learning how to listen empathetically, and even on an everyday basis with my friends and family and like that. But I wish to somehow I don't know, pass it on to maybe. Okay, sorry, I got a little.
It's okay.
But what I think is I still have this feeling that I want to somehow change the world. And I've heard that it's idealistic and that I'm still young, but I want to believe that. I want to believe that I can do it, because this gives me hope to go on. And
yes,
yeah, and I'm just last evening I envisioned a scene where I could where I would host an empathy circle in the middle of the street, in the middle of the rebellion, and this is my next goal to do. But aside from that, just connecting my local I know, structures and sharing an empathy to each and everyone.
Great, David. I just want to
Thank you.
mention we have a Polish trainer who's very involved in the situation. I've been made aware of it. Rock on, man, rock on. And if you want to get in contact with her, we'll give you the contact.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sunita.
Yeah, I'd just like to hold space. And yeah, that's how I would like to take this forward. Be present. Help the other person feel that he or she is there and is acknowledged. Yeah, just be that safe. Give that space of safety, of existence, of recognition, of just being heard, and just allow that to happen. That's what I want to very deeply take forward. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Sunita. Shema.
I hope to hold empathy circles regularly with people in my community. And I also would like to use empathy circles for conflict resolution. If friends or family are in conflict, I can just say, let's do an empathy circle. And yeah, I just hope to continue this practice as long as I can.
Thank you, Shema. Rasha.
Yeah, so I want to begin by saying that I very deeply, very strongly, and with complete conviction believe that empathy can absolutely transform the world. And so building a culture of empathy is absolutely necessary. I often feel that, one of the reasons why I signed up for the Empathy Circles program is because I happened to come across Edwin's Empathy Tents, right? And where he brings together people who are politically, have political differences. He brings them together and gets them to have a conversation with each other. And I feel that's extremely critical at this point in time. And I do feel that the world can get a little divisive and polarized, and so, which is one of the reasons why empathy is the way forward. And I'm someone who's been working in the space of empathy for 4 years, and I feel like Bill has been doing, introducing empathy into the education systems, into parenting, into corporate, the corporate sector. All these are, have add a lot of value, not just in, especially in the corporates, not just in terms of the culture there, but also in, it also has monetary benefits, right? When people are more empathic to each other. And in terms of the values that we've been discussing, I could so feel empathy, care, openness, and mutuality, all of them in the empathy circles that we have done. And I've noticed that there's always so much to learn, about empathy. And one thing that I've learned from the empathy circles, which I didn't realize before, despite all the workshops and all that I've been doing, is that empathy can truly be therapeutic. Very, very therapeutic. And I think it's because I feel very heard that I come back like again and again to these empathy circles. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone. Usually we do include the trainers here in this response, but it is the end of our time. I want to be respectful of our time. And so I'm going to send it back to Edwin for any final remarks. And then if, people want to stay longer, I don't know how what we can talk about that, but Edwin, take it away.
Okay, thanks, Bill. So yeah, to continue, we can have any final comments from Lou or Bill. And it's just really invite you to take the training again and again and again. So keep it going. We have another cohort starting next week. And we're going to be adding more cohorts. You're welcome to join. You can be a trainee you know, take it multiple times. We want to support you in actually becoming trainers and, you know, supporting you and holding more circles. If you're missing the group, we already have a reunion next week. So the reunion at this time, same time slot, it's going to be for all the trainers. I'm not all the trainers, for all the participants. I think we've had like, I don't know, 90 or so participants, 100. So there's sort of an open invitation for reunion, so you can meet some of the others. You're welcome to come to that. We have the weekly cafes on Fridays, the orientation cafes. You're welcome to come to that. You can help facilitate a circle, a breakout circle, and you can also learn the introduction to the training process. So it's something that you can hold for others, how you can so you can invite them to those introductions and then they can take the training. So that's something else. So with that, I don't know, Lou, do you have any?
I just want to mention the facilitator, support group that's every other Friday at 12:30. So that's a place for you to come and continue learning. We can do role plays there. We can do answering questions, you know, questions and answers, and also just get reports. You can come and get support for whatever it is you're trying to implement, being heard for it or getting advice from others who've done similar kinds of things. So that every other Friday at 12:30, that's our way of providing ongoing support to facilitators who've taken the training and are trying to continue to learn and do stuff.
Okay, Bill, any final words?
I just want to, we talked about, you know, some of the earlier days when there are just a few of us, Edwin, around, and it's really inspirational that the things that inspired us then really inspire all you right now. And I'm so appreciative of all of you putting this energy in. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, with that, we'll get our final twinkle fingers, jazz hands up. There's something else, Lou?
Anne wants to say something.
Oh.
I really wanted to appreciate all those people whose English isn't their first language, because we couldn't have done this without you. And it is a big effort. However proficient you are, you're translating in your minds. And I'm very grateful for you for it. Thank you.
And more gratitude to Lou and Bill for doing the training on this, and Dean and Anne and Ben for all the work you've been doing on the training too. So
thank you, everyone. Hope to bump into you or see you again sometime soon.
Until next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Oh, it's late.
Dean jumped out.